Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to the Built for BlackBerry series, system integration with BBM. My name is Nick Kalkunas. I'm the product manager on the BBM team, responsible for the BBM social platform, all the APIs that are part of BBM. And I'm here with my colleague, Mark.
Hi, my name is Mark Sohm. I'm part of the developer relations team at BlackBerry. So you might have seen me in the developer forums if you've been there looking for answers or posting questions. So I am Sohm in there, fairly active, so might have helped you guys in the past or contacted you before. But, yeah, we'll be talking about BBM and how you can use that to create a built for BlackBerry application today.
Fantastic. So before we get into the content, how many people here, with the raise of hands, have BBM connected applications? Anyone? Oh, that's pretty good. How many of those have their apps be built for BlackBerry? One? Okay. So hopefully after this session, we'll get a lot of you into the Built for BlackBerry series and on your way to making some good downloads and ultimately money. So 3 things I want to make sure that you guys leave with here today. First of all, for those that aren't or don't have apps that are BBM connected, I'll talk a little bit about what the BBM social platform is, and obviously the value of BBM. We'll take a look at the benefits of BBM connecting your app. Also take a look at some examples of other applications that have BBM connected their applications and are built for BlackBerry as well. So we have some great screenshots and examples to show. And then we'll spend a lot of time. Mark will cover what you need to do to BBM connect your app. We'll have some code snippets and examples of leveraging the APIs within your application. Ultimately, we want you guys to leverage BBM built for BlackBerry. So that's really what we're here for today. So BBM is a vibrant social network. We have over 60 million active users worldwide in all the countries that BlackBerry supported. There's over 30 million BBM users that use BBM groups, so that's another big part of BBM, not just the chat portion of it. And BBM users are really active. So there's over 150 billion messages sent and received a month from BBM. So again, a very, very active social network in BBM. And again, BBM users are not, unlike some other applications that you sort of use once in a while or have sort of running in the background just in case you get a message from someone. BBM is a lot different. BBM users use BBM and use it a lot. So 60% of BBM users use BBM daily. In fact, a typical BBM user will use BBM 6 out of 7 days from the analytics that we have. So again, very, very active users within BBM. And BBM growth is super viral. And when I mean viral, it's in the true sense of the word, which to me is when your friends tell you to download BBM or to use BBM, BBM's preloaded, you know that it's something that a lot of people use. So really, the viral aspects of BBM is something that you definitely need to take advantage of. So with over 60 million users on BBM, word of your application travels super fast. A lot of BBM users live in the Updates tab, looking at what people are doing within BBM. BBM connecting your app, and we'll go into this in a little bit more detail later on, really allows you to take advantage of that. We've done the hard work of building a network of 60 million people. I'm not sure how many of you guys have been involved in building out social networks, but 60 million people is a lot of people, and building that network takes a lot of time. We've done the hard work. You guys should definitely be taking advantage of that within your applications. And as you add social elements in your application, it increases engagement. As I said, a lot of people live in the Updates tab, looking at what their friends are doing. So as you add those sort of social aspects within your application, it increases the app stickiness, just builds that, that cycle within BBM, getting users to download app, getting users to engage with it. And ultimately, that means increased downloads. And if you have any sort of monetization models within your applications, it means more money for your developers or for your companies that you guys work for. So what's the BBM social platform? There's a couple of things. It's a set of APIs that allow you to take advantage of the aspects of BBM that we've exposed to developers. It's available in Core Native, Cascades, WebWorks, and now with the latest release of Air, it's available in Air as well. So anyone that's taken advantage of Air can use those today in BlackBerry 10. Features include the contact lists and invitations, so being able to interact with those. You have the ability to interact with the user profile, so changing status message, updating personal message. We'll get into those details. There's in the Apps tab, for those that haven't used BBM, in the profile there's an Apps tab which shows a list of all the BBM connected applications. So again, as people look at what their friends are doing or colleagues, you can get a sense of applications, and again, just get into the distribution and viral aspects of taking advantage of those. And then there's also the invocation API. So aside from the APIs that are part of the NDK, leveraging BBM through invocation is another way to take advantage of BBM. Mark will talk a lot about that as well. So let's get into some of the details. The first one is BBM contact lists and invitations. This is the ability to invite another BBM user to download your application. So, taking advantage of the contact list within BBM to distribute those invites to your social graph within BBM. You also have the ability to listen for changes. So programmatically, if someone updates, their personal message with a certain message, programmatically you can take advantage of that within your application as well. So as I go through these, you'll see this section at the bottom of the slides. That's sort of best practice. And this is our sort of insider tips on what you can do to, again, sort of enhance your integration with BBM. And what we've found really works well. And again, increasing your chances for the Built for BlackBerry. So really making it easy for users to find that invite to download. The next example you'll see is a perfect example of how an application developer has taken advantage of that. Make it feel integrated into the application. I've seen a lot of applications that come through the Built for BlackBerry process that sort of just throw it up and kind of make it feel a little bit spammy or try to force that integration. You want to try to avoid that. Like, make it feel integrated, and we'll show some examples of that. So the first example is from our great partners, 2 Casual Coders, and one of the developers is here, Quincy. So they're built for BlackBerry, and as you can see, they have a really integrated feel of the BBM connected features. You'll see the icon at the bottom of the screen there. If you press that icon, you get a cross-cut menu with a list of all the things that you can do within BBM. So you have the ability to invite other users to download, the ability to set profile messages. We'll get into that later. But again, you see that even the iconography that they've used is really integrated and feels a part of the application. It doesn't feel that it's sort of separate. And so when you click on that, the invite to download, you get the sort of standard. And we've built this for you guys, so there's not a lot of work to create that, and then sending it off. Another great example is, sorry, you want to take that? There you go. Someone's taking a screen. These, by the way, all these slides will be available in the session after, I believe.
Yeah,
right, there's
in the conference
link.
site, it'll be all recorded and you can download it.
So another great example is the CB10 app, which is also built for BlackBerry. And another really easy way to add the invite to download functionality is from a swipe down from the top. So adding an invite button on the menu that you swipe down from the top. So again, it feels like part of the application. There's other activities that you can do within that. It's not hidden, very easy to find, and just really upfront. So again, clicking on that brings the standard invite to BBM or invite to download that would send that off to your BBM social graph. One of the other features of the BBM social platform is user profile updates. So the ability to update the BBM user's profile information. So like I said, the ability to set personal status message, avatar updates, and even availability. And as I mentioned at the beginning, a lot of people live within the Updates tab of BBM, and this is where you can really take advantage of that. So you see the screenshot here. All the highlighted items in blue in the Updates tab are apps that are BBM connected. So clicking on those would launch the application if you have it, or if you don't have it, it would take you to BlackBerry World to download that. So again, the app discovery, discoverability, distribution, viral aspects of the BBM social platform are really, really discoverable through these APIs. And again, sort of best practice, make the updates relevant. I mean, I've seen a lot of applications that sort of just say, I'm using this application, which doesn't really give a lot of context for your BBM social graph. It doesn't entice the users to really download that application. So if you're, Foursquare is a great example, of course, that they put the check-in information, so the location of where the user is checked in, into that update. Or, Nobex Radio is another great example that we'll take a look at that integrates the radio station that the person's listening to. So again, just something else to hook in, the users to download that application or use it if they have it. So one example of that is PicStory, another great built for BlackBerry application. It's a sort of, allows users to post photos. There's great filters and frames that users have to take advantage of. And they've built their own sort of social network around the PicStory application as well. So one great feature that they have is the ability to use the photo that you've taken, that you've set the filters on and done your editing and posted to PicStory as your profile within BBM. So if you long press the photo, it brings in another crosscut menu, allowing the user to set the photo as their profile avatar. And then clicking on that launches the standard BBM set avatar card that we have, which allows you to manipulate the photo. This is all built into the set avatar card for BBM. So again, no work here, just calling this API does this. And then when you actually click done, you get the toast that it's updated, and you see the bottom that it's updated the profile within BBM. Again, what this would do would then put in an entry into the user's BBM profile that they've updated their photo from this application. So again, just another way to take advantage of that Updates tab and the discoverability. I mentioned Nobex Radio before, another great built for BlackBerry application. What they've done within their settings is allow the users to update the BBM profile when they're listening to stations and changing the stations. So they have an option here within their settings. If you enable that, every time that you click on a radio station and you start listening to that radio station, it'll prompt the user to update the profile with what they're listening to. So again, really allowing users and giving them the option to post or not post is another great thing that's part of the BBM social graph, or BBM social platform. So we don't want applications to really spam that. The BBM avatar, the BBM updates tab, the profile updates are really something that people value. So, this confirmation dialog box really, forces user to think about, do I want to post this? If it's a location that I don't want people to see, maybe I don't want people, I don't want to post that on my BBM status message. So after they, they would click OK to update the BBM profile, you would see that change. And again, all that flows into the updates, goes into that stream within your BBM social graph. And this is in the Updates tab, just a screenshot. So, no Bex there would be, if I clicked it, it would launch it or take me to BlackBerry World to download it. I talked about the application box. So this is the Apps tab within the BBM profile. So again, when you BBM connect your app, automatically you get an entry in that Apps tab within BBM. You see the top right there where it says Apps. I'll try to highlight that. In addition to just that one entry, you also have what we call profile box items. So as you add entries underneath your application, you'll see this sort of drop-down option here that expands these profile boxes underneath. So these are within the CBC radio app, which is also actually built by Nobex as well. You see these, the stations the last 3 stations that I listened to. So again, clicking on any of these from any of my BBM friends would either launch the application or take me to BlackBerry World to download it. So again, best practice, take advantage of this. Coming in some next releases, we have the ability to actually launch this with context. So right now, it just launches the application if you click on this. Coming soon is the ability to actually launch it with some data. So you could launch within this radio station directly or launch within some sort of context of your application. So passing it, that into your app. So I'll hand it over to Mark now, and he'll talk a little bit about how to do this and take advantage of it within your applications.
All right, thanks, Nick. So at this point, we're going to get into some more technical information and some code samples and see how you can actually do some of the actions that Nick described. So the BlackBerry, or the BBM social platform APIs are available across multiple platforms. So you have options depending on what language you used within your application. So for BlackBerry 10, if you create an application in C, you can use the BlackBerry Platform Services APIs to integrate with BBM. We also have the Qt or Cascade style APIs that you can use for your Cascades applications. We have APIs for WebWorks, and now we have APIs for AIR as well. So AIR applications are able to integrate into BBM, and those were just made available this week. So they're in the new AIR SDK that came out. For the older devices, the BlackBerry OS 5 to 7, the Java and WebWorks applications there can also integrate with BBM and make use of those APIs. So one thing to note, when you're populating your application in App World, in order to make the BBM APIs compatible across devices, so the BlackBerry OS 5 to 7 and BlackBerry 10, if you create the same product and use the same SKU for your applications in BlackBerry World, it'll actually support cross-platform. So invite to download, if I send it from BlackBerry 10 to a BlackBerry OS 7 user, they click on that, it'll take them to BlackBerry World and download the application. And likewise, it works both ways. So as long as you have the same SKU and you're into the same product in App World, those users can seamlessly invite one another. So you don't have to worry on the development side, which version are they going to be pointed to or which one should they download. That'll all be taken care of for you. So the first step to make use of any of these APIs is to perform the registration process. So this basically connects the application to BBM. And this is something the user can control. So they can opt out of this, they can go into the application permissions, and they can enable and disable this. So it's something you want to monitor in your application and take control of to know whether the user is actually connected or not. So you need to handle both cases for the BBM connected and the disconnected state. In 10.2, we're planning to remove the registration for BBM connected applications. So currently now, when you perform the registration process, a dialog box comes up with a little spinning wheel and shows that the application is being connected to BBM. We've removed that to 10.2 based on feedback from developers because they'd like the option to handle that most appropriately for their application. So if your application heavily relies on BBM and it's needed for a certain feature, you can display your own dialog and give progress to the user. If it's something you just want to take care of in the background and don't necessarily need the user to worry about, you can do that as well. So it's the options up to you. So once we've done registration, we can start using some of these APIs. So these are using the Cascades BBM social platform APIs. And this is an example of all you need to do to send an invite to download message. So the first thing we're doing there is creating a new message service object. And that m_contacts variable there, that's something that was initialized during the registration process. So this is assuming we've already registered and we're connected to BBM. And now we want to send that invite to download. Once we've initialized that message service, we just call one method, send download invitation, and the APIs take care of the rest. So those screens that you saw in Nick's slides that brought up the contact picker and where you type in the message to invite to download, that's all taken care of for you. So you just call that one method, and it's going to kick off that process. Profile boxes, again, relatively simple. A few more lines here, but you have a little bit more options of what you can do with profile box items. So if you want to add those items underneath the apps tab, so the sub-items, so you can update statuses for your application here. So typically if you're updating the profile message, applications will update the profile box as well. So the first line you'll see we're using that mContext object, again, that we created during the registration process to create an instance of a profile box. The next thing we need to do is register the icons we want to use. Now the icon registration you only have to do once. So if you've already registered the icon, you don't have to keep doing that every time you run this. It's just a one-time event. And your icon, when you register that, you're specifying a unique identifier, and you can reuse that identifier throughout the life cycle of your application afterwards. Once we've done that, we call that last method request add item, and we're going to specify the ID of the icon and some text there. So here we've got a new high score of 2. So obviously this person needs a little more practice, but they're getting there for now. And finally, we can append a cookie information on the bottom. Right now that's not used for a whole lot, but in the future that's going to be passed to the application if a user clicked on the item in that profile box. So you can know if your application was started from that context or not. Now the profile page, if you want to update the user's profile message, again, just a couple of calls that you have to do. We want to initialize the user profile object, again, using that context object that we used from registration. And then we just call request update personal message with the string that we want to be there. So very simple, very easy, but again, a very powerful tool that you can use to kind of kick off and enable that viral distribution of your application. So your users' contacts see what your application's doing, and they can click on that link to go and either launch or download the application as well. So we can also work with the contacts. So you can get a list of contacts from BBM that the user that have the application installed. So if you want to use that for some context-sensitive items, you can. So for example, if I'm playing an application, I might change my status to, I'm playing this game. If it's a multiplayer game, you might have the application listening for changes for that status item. So if my contacts are also playing that game, I might get prompted to say, hey, Bob, Joe, and Fred are also playing this game. Do you want to kick off a multiplayer session? And it's a way to kind of seamlessly integrate and enable that multiplayer connection using BBM, where the user doesn't have to go and try and pick people and figure out who might be running the application. It's already done, and again, makes the application very context sensitive and kind of aware of what's going on. So the other set of APIs you can use with BBM is the invocation framework. Now, the invocation framework you can do without the BBM registration process. So this is just using the standard invoke APIs and specifying some parameters for BBM. So some things you can do is start a chat with specific contact or contacts. We can start a chat where we prompt the user to choose the contact, so that'll use the built-in BBM contact picker. We can prompt the user to set the avatar image. So again, if we want to have an image set for their icon for their profile. We can invite a contact to BBM. We can share text with a contact, so that'll be kind of what's shown on the right-hand side there, where we've pre-populated a chat window with some text. We can share image, and we can share a custom file. And I'm going to go through some examples of these, of what the code looks like to actually invoke BBM in that way. So the simplest one, start a BBM chat. So if we know the PIN of the user we want to start a chat with, it's just a few lines there. So we use the invoke action ID of bb.action.bbm chat. specify the PIN as a URI, and that's going to open up a chat message to that specific user. So in this case, our application is specifying the contact that we want to chat with. If we want to do a multi-person chat, so this is a new feature that was added in OS 10.1, so we can add multiple people to the same chat session on BBM. So we set our target as the sys.bbm.conference handler. The action is BBM conf. And we can also specify contacts here. So the contacts are optional. If we don't specify them, the user will get prompted with that contact picker and be able to add the contacts they want for the chat. But if your application is aware of who should be in the chat already, you can add that. And this is using the Cascade C++ APIs. Once we've built our invoke request, we just use the invoke manager to request that. Now, so that middle part there where we specified the contacts could look something like this. So this is shown just adding a single contact. When really you do this in a multiple person chat, you'd add multiple pins there. So you can see they were specifying the pin as a context item. So we create that qvariant map. We add our multiple contacts to it. Once we're done that, we create a conference object and create the qvariant map to hold all those list of contacts. So there's no limit on the number of contacts you can add here. You can just keep adding users to the multi-person chat. It'd just be as many as BBM can handle itself. And once we'd have that, we'd pass that to the invocation request that we did on the previous screen. So when we start that multi-person chat, here's basically what it'll look like. So the screenshot on the left-hand side is what the user will see if we invoked a multi-person chat and didn't specify any contacts. So it's going to show their whole contact list. They can select multiple people. Once they're finished, they hit the done button on the top right there, and that'll start the chat message. If we've specified some contacts already through the invocation request, it'd look like the middle screenshot there. So in this case, I've specified myself and Nick as contacts. The user has the option to add multiple contacts. So if they search for contacts by name there, that would also show up in the search results, and so they can add those in as well. And once the chat's initiated, it'll show up on the right-hand side there, the 2 invitations sent to start the chat, and the user can then start typing away to initiate that chat session. So sharing text. So like when we start a chat, you might have some text that you want to pre-populate, maybe send a URL or a link or some information to the other user. So you can do that using the share framework through invocation and specifying BBM as a target. So in this example here, I've got data defined a couple times. So in the query itself, we've got some text to share. So if you've got relatively hard-coded data that's static and not going to change, you could just put it there and you'll be fine. But if you want that text to change based on something in your application, you can update that in the onTriggered method. Now typically, the data in the onTriggered would point to a variable in your application. I've just used a string here just for a simple example. So what this will look like is user triggers that, selects a contact. We can see this is some new text on the right-hand side. So it overwrote what was in the original query with the update that we specified in the onTriggered method. And that onTriggered method is called every time that invocation request is initiated. So if that variable changes throughout the life of your application, you can always pull the latest one in there and have that text show up in that chat message. So one item that people have asked about a lot is the peer-to-peer connection. So previously in BlackBerry OS 5.7, there were sessions and channels that would allow you to communicate from one user to another using the BBM data path. So the peer-to-peer connections are being redesigned for BlackBerry 10. So we're in the midst of those APIs, and they'll be coming in a future release. So some of the details I can share with you today is kind of what we're thinking around the design. So as we do for chat, we'll provide a card for contact selection. So if you want to initiate a connection to another peer, we'll bring up that contact picker to allow you to choose the people or the person that you want to connect to. On the recipient side, if the application is running, the application would be notified that a user is trying to make a peer-to-peer connection to you, and the application can choose to accept or reject that connection. If the application isn't running, the notification would go into the BlackBerry Hub, where there the user can accept or deny the connection. If they accept it, it's going to launch the application and initiate that connection process. So we're going to take the hard work away from you in connecting the two devices. So be using the BBM technology, similar to how BBM video and BBM voice works, to create that network tunnel between the two devices. Once that's established, essentially we hand off an IP address to you that you can use to talk, and you can talk straight TCP. So make a socket connection and send data directly to the two devices. So it kind of takes the difficult part of networking and firewall and NAT and all the complexities. Am I on the same Wi-Fi network? Am I connecting over cellular? So we're going to kind of abstract that from you, the developer, give you that easy network connection, and then it's up to you to just send that data back and forth. So a great way to make use of it for multiplayer games or any kind of application that needs to share data that way. So we don't have an OS target for this, so it's still in the planning stage. So we're very early on this part of the API. If you'd want more information or would like to discuss or give us feedback, Nick and myself are going to be at the Ask the Experts area in the BlackBerry Jam space from noon to 1 after this session. So if there's any feedback, any ideas you have for this, absolutely come and talk to us, and we can talk more and find out kind of some use cases of what you would see or how you would use this particular API. So as far as features go, I'm going to cover some of the kind of high-level view across the various languages. So for BlackBerry 10, obviously registration is supported. We have profile boxes, profile page, invite to download we've all gone over. Channels and sessions, as I mentioned, don't exist on BlackBerry 10 as they did for 5 to 7, but we're going to replace that with that peer-to-peer system that we're designing now. We also have the ability to invoke BBM chats, as we just saw, as well as invite to BBM. On the WebWorks side, pretty much identical to what you can do in the native Cascades application. The one limitation there is profile boxes aren't fully supported yet on the WebWorks side, but everything else is nearly identical to what you can do on Cascades. I mentioned we had a new set of APIs for Air. So this is also going to support what you can do in a native BlackBerry application. So you have support for the registration process, profile boxes, profile page, invite to download, BBM chats, and invite to BBM. So essentially anything you can do in a native application, you can now do in an Air application when it comes to using the BBM social platform APIs. And these were just made available in the Air SDK update that went out this week. So you can go download that and add these to your application if you've got an Air application created. So that wraps up what we've got for presentation. We've got some time here for questions if anyone has them. So ask if we do have questions, if you can come up to the mic so everyone can hear.
Yeah, and just also, in case you're not able to come to the Ask the Experts, Mark and I have our business cards up here. We love to hear what you guys are doing. I welcome always to help promote the applications that you guys are building, specifically around BBM. I mean, for talks like this, you see that we showcase, cool applications that take advantage of this. So, please reach out to us and let us know what you're doing. Is there a question here?
So when is the Android SDK integration going to be available?
So the Android runtime, you mean in BlackBerry 10?
Yeah. So that not only that, but if BBM is now going to be available on the Android, we're going to want to integrate with that as well.
Yeah. So we've been getting a lot of questions, obviously, with the announcement this week that BBM would be cross-platform about the availability of these APIs. Right now, the focus is on getting feature parity on the application. But absolutely, we're looking at extending these, in later releases. It's definitely on our roadmap. We just haven't. Again, just in terms of timing, the focus is really getting the apps out. Yeah.
Any other questions?
No one wants to know about BBM channels. BBM channels. Any get any questions around that? Okay, I guess I'll tell you guys then. So BBM channels does support the invocation framework, so you're able to invoke able to invoke sharing of content into a BBM channel programmatically, and there's a handler for that as well. Again, because of timing and the announcement, we weren't able to update the content here, but we're planning to do a follow-up, probably a blog post or a post in the forums around the handler and how to do that. So available now with the beta, you'd be able to share content into a BBM channel.
First, the BBM channels, is it going to be ever to a point where you're going to have to pay to actually create a channel, or will it always be free for all?
So there is a free portal that developers and I guess content providers will be able to create the channels. There is going to be a premium piece as well to it that would allow you to do other, perform other functions. But yes, there will always be a free model.
Now, I'm new to the space, so does BBM chatting, regular chatting, support rich text, like the embedding of imagery and things like that in there, or is it strictly Unicode text or ASCII text?
There are some rich text elements you can do. Like if you put in URL, it'll be clickable, so the user can open that, and it'll launch the browser and that sort of thing. As far as embedding an image in the text itself, you can't do. Obviously, the emoticons that are built in can be sent, so it'll do all the smileys. It'll replace those with images. But if you want to actually send an image over BBM, you can do that. You use the share framework, and they would send it to the other user. They would see a little thumbnail preview, and they have the option to accept or decline the download, and it'll download it to their device. And then they can touch on the image, and it'll open it up. As well as if you send other types of files, like if you send a document or basically anything that the invocation framework can open, it can be sent to the user, and they can click on it right from the BBM chat, and it'll open up that application to open the app or open that file.
But it doesn't natively have text with word wrapping and like image text flowing around imagery or anything like that?
Not imagery. So it does support like UTF-8 characters. So you can send, obviously, like international characters across, but you can't actually embed an image within the chat message, no.
Well, you could send an image with chat content, though, right? So
yeah, like when you send that file, there's comments that can go with it. So you can share an image with text. It just doesn't show like in the middle of the text itself.
Okay, I saw in one of these samples that you set a MIME type in order to send it. So can you embed it? I guess you'd have to have an app-specific reader that can then display that information so that both parties would have the same app, have to have the same app?
Yeah, so I just want to see if we have one for sharing of an image here. That one was just for multi-person. I don't think I have that sample here. But essentially, yeah. So when you share a file or an image, the invocation request could look similar to here. When we share a file, the data element or the URI would specify like file : / or you can put a URL in there. And that's going to send like an image, a doc, or a dot custom file extension. And you can also specify the MIME type there. And as long as there's an app on the other side that can open that type of MIME type extension or whatever file is sent. Next one. Yeah, so this is, it's showing the MIME type here. So in this case, it's just sending a contact list. So this is for multi-person chats. We're not actually sending a file, but the method calls are similar here. So as long as the recipient has something to open that, they can just click on that and it'll open the application. They can always download the file. So if there's no app to handle that particular type, they can download the file and then, copy it to the computer or do whatever is relevant to the file. Or if you have another application that consumes it another way, they can, access it from that shared area on the device.
There's no way to load it up within chat as a card or something else, an embeddable component?
No, not currently.
Do you have any information about the BBM extensions for Hex Enemy?
I don't know. Sorry. I'm not sure if he's here. Joshua Garrick is a developer evangelist that's heavily involved in the enemy space. So I'm not sure if he's on the Ask the Experts board or at the session here. He would have the information on that, but I'm not sure what the status of that. It's not an official BlackBerry product. There are some people from RIM that contribute there, but yeah, I'm not sure on the status of that.
I used to have a problem with the Invoke BBM share. If I share, my main language is Spanish. If I share special characters, when I put it in the QML, it works all right. But when I download like a news title, and the news title has the special characters, and I try to share that, it doesn't work. The same title, if I put it in the QML, it works all right. If I get it from the net and like pass the variable, it doesn't work.
Sometimes you'll lose that depending on how you're storing it in the variable. You have to make sure you're storing it as like a UTF-16 character set. So by default, it'll use, not sure whether it's ASCII or UTF-8, but you lose some of those additional characters. So if you specify, again, it'll vary slightly what language you're using, whether you're using like the C++ or JavaScript or whatnot. But you have to ensure that when you're creating that string variable, that you're using that specific method or variable type that's going to use the UTF-16 character set, and that'll preserve all the sort of international characters that sometimes get lost if you just do a straight string variable in like JavaScript within QML.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
All right, so some great questions. Really appreciate the feedback. Like I said, our business cards are here. We'll be at the Ask the Experts. Hopefully what we've shown you today convinces you to take advantage of this. And really, with everything we have here, there's really no reason why you shouldn't have your apps BBM connected. So thank you very much.
Thank you.